the bedroom door opened. Jenny's breath caught in her throat. Park Jae-hyun stood in the doorway, his white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, his usually perfect hair slightly disheveled. For 3 years, he'd never entered this room after dark. For 3 years, she'd slept alone. But tonight, something was different. His dark eyes weren't cold. They were burning. "The divorce papers," he said, his voice rough, almost broken. "You really want to leave?" Jenny clutched the silk robe tighter around her body. "What do you care? You've barely looked at me in 3 years." He stepped inside. Closed the door. The click of the lock echoed through her chest. "I've looked at you every single day, Jennifer." Her full name on his lips sent shivers down her spine. He never called her Jennifer. "Then why?" "Because I'm terrified." He moved closer. She could smell his cologne now, feel the heat radiating from his body. "I stayed away because the moment I touch you, the moment I allow myself to feel what I've been fighting, I won't be able to stop. And in my world, Jenny, the things we love become weapons our enemies use against us." Her heart hammered against her ribs. "So you chose to hurt me first? I chose to keep you alive." His jaw clenched. "But seeing those papers today, knowing you'd rather leave than spend one more day as my wife." He stopped inches from her, his eyes searching her face like he was memorizing every feature. "I realized living without you would kill me anyway." His hand reached up, trembling, and cupped her cheek. The first time he'd touched her face in 3 years. Jenny's eyes filled with tears. "Jae-hyun, tell me you don't want this," he whispered, his thumb tracing her bottom lip. "Tell me you don't feel this thing between us, and I'll sign those papers. I'll let you go. I'll let you be free." She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. But if there's even a chance, his forehead touched hers. "Even the smallest chance that you feel what I feel, that you want what I want, then stay. Stay with me tonight. Let me show you why I've been so afraid."
Please, you have to understand. I can't do this alone.
Welcome to Afro-Korean Love Stories. If you're loving this story and you want to find out what happens next, quickly hit that like button and subscribe, because what you're about to watch would leave you wondering. Tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. I'd really love to know. Now, let's dive into this amazing story. Jennifer Chucks had never set foot in South Korea before the day she became a mafia wife. Her father's gambling problem had always been bad, but she didn't know how bad until 2 men in expensive suits showed up at their Chicago apartment. They spoke in Korean to each other, then broken English to her father. The message was clear: pay $50,000 in 2 weeks, or they'd start taking payment in blood. Her father sobbed at the kitchen table that night. "I'm sorry, baby girl. I'm so sorry." Jenny held him, her own tears falling silently. She was 23, working 2 jobs to help with rent, and she had maybe $3,000 in savings. 50,000 might as well have been 50 million. The solution came from the most unexpected place. Park Jae-hyun walked into the restaurant where she waitressed 3 days later. He didn't look like a criminal. He looked like he'd stepped out of a Korean drama, tall, sharp jawline, eyes so dark they looked black, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her car. He sat in her section and ordered in perfect English. "Coffee. Black." She brought it, hands shaking slightly because somehow she knew. She knew he was connected to her father's debt. "Jennifer Chucks," he said after she set down the cup. Not a question. A statement. "Yes." "Sit." "I'm working." "Not anymore." He gestured to her manager, who immediately nodded and waved her away. That's when Jenny understood the depth of his power. She sat. "Your father owes my family a substantial amount of money," Jae-hyun said, his voice cold and professional. "He cannot pay." "I know. I'm trying to help him, but there is a way to clear the debt entirely." His eyes met hers. "Marry me." Jenny's laugh came out strangled. "Excuse me? I need a wife. My family is pressuring me to settle down, to show stability. You need your father's debt erased and his protection guaranteed." He pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. "This is a contract. You marry me, live in Seoul, play the role of my wife in public. In return, your father's debt disappears, and he receives a monthly stipend for life. You'll have your own bank account, your own money, freedom to do what you want within reasonable boundaries. This is insane. This is business. His expression didn't change. You have 24 hours to decide. She should have said no. She should have run. But that night, watching her father's hands shake as he tried to drink away his fear, Jenny knew she'd already made her choice. The wedding happened in Seoul 2 weeks later. Small, formal, cold. Jae-hyun's family looked at her with thinly veiled disgust. An American, a black woman, clearly only there for money. His mother didn't smile once. His father assessed her like livestock. Jae-hyun slipped a platinum ring on her finger and kissed her cheek. Brief, impersonal, for show. "Welcome to the Park family, Mrs. Park," he'd said. But he never called her that again. The penthouse was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Gangnam, modern furniture, art that probably cost more than most houses. He showed her to the master bedroom. "This is yours," he said. "Ours, you mean? I have my own room down the hall." He'd already turned away. "We'll maintain separate spaces. You'll accompany me to family dinners and important events. Otherwise, live as you please. Someone will take you shopping tomorrow for appropriate clothes." Jae-hyun wait. But he'd already closed the door between them. That was 3 years ago. 3 years of sleeping alone in a bed meant for two. 3 years of sitting beside him at dinners where she didn't speak the language, where his hand would rest near hers on the table but never touch. 3 years of watching him come home late, blood sometimes on his knuckles, exhaustion in his eyes, and never being allowed to ask if he was okay. 3 years of being a wife without a husband. She tried it first. She really did. She took Korean lessons, learned to read Hangul, practiced phrases. She cooked American food he never ate, then learned Korean recipes he'd pick at politely before leaving the table. She dressed up for family events, smiled until her face hurt, endured the whispers and stares. His mother cornered her once at a charity gala. "My son doesn't touch you," she said in careful English, her lips curved in a cruel smile. "Perhaps you're not woman enough for a Korean man." Jenny had excused herself and cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes. The whispers got worse over time. The other Mafia wives would go quiet when she approached, then burst into giggles when she passed. She caught fragments. Her Korean was good enough now to understand the cruelty. 3 years and no children? Something must be wrong with her. "I heard he keeps a mistress in Itaewon, a proper Korean woman. Maybe he regrets buying a black wife. Should have chosen someone from a good family." Jenny started to believe them. She'd stand in front of the mirror some nights, examining herself. She was beautiful, she knew that objectively. Curves that turned heads, skin like dark honey, natural hair she'd learned to style in elegant ways that suited Seoul's fashion. But maybe beautiful wasn't enough. Maybe she was fundamentally undesirable to him. The loneliness ate at her slowly, day by day. She'd hear Jae-hyun moving around the penthouse late at night. Sometimes she'd catch him watching her. She'd look up from a book and find his eyes on her before he'd quickly look away. Once, she'd fallen asleep on the couch, and she woke to find a blanket draped over her, still warm, his cologne lingering in the air. But he never stayed. Never spoke beyond necessities. Never touched her. 6 months ago, something shifted in her. She was sitting at another family dinner, Jae-hyun's hand resting 3 inches from hers on the white tablecloth, and she realized she was disappearing. The vibrant, strong woman who'd sacrificed everything for her father was fading into this silent, ignored ghost. She deserved more than this. Her father's debt was paid. The contract didn't require her to stay forever. She'd given 3 years of her life to this cold arrangement. Wasn't that enough? The decision took time. 3 more months of watching Jae-hyun maintain his polite distance. 3 more months of sleeping alone. 3 more months of wondering what was so fundamentally wrong with her that even a man contractually bound to her couldn't stand to be near her. She finally contacted a lawyer. Quietly, carefully. The divorce papers were drawn up, translated into Korean, prepared with clauses that would let her leave cleanly. She wasn't asking for money. She had her own savings now, 3 years of the generous allowance he'd provided and barely touched. She just wanted her freedom, her dignity, her life back. This morning, she'd walked into his home office, a place she rarely entered, and placed the papers on his mahogany desk. Her hands were steady. Her decision was made. Jae-hyun had been on a phone call, speaking rapid Korean she couldn't follow. His eyes dropped to the papers. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his gaze. Something that looked almost like pain. He'd ended his call mid-sentence. "What is this?" His voice was carefully neutral. "Divorce papers." "It's time, Jae-hyun." Jenny kept her voice steady. "We both know this marriage is just paperwork. Let's make it official. You want to leave. I want to live." She met his eyes. "I've been a ghost in your house for 3 years. I'm 26 years old, and I feel like I'm already dead. So yes, I want to leave." He'd picked up the papers, his jaw tight. "I see. You don't have to sign immediately. Take your time, have your lawyer review. Get out." The words hit like a slap. Jenny had turned and walked out, her composure cracking only when she reached the safety of her bedroom. She'd cried then, angry tears, frustrated tears, heartbroken tears for a marriage that had never really existed. She'd spent the day packing. Not everything, just what mattered. Her clothes, her books, the few photos of her father. She'd booked a flight back to Chicago for 3 days from now. Enough time for Jae-hyun to process, to sign, to let her go. She'd expected anger maybe, or indifference, or relief. She hadn't expected him to come to her bedroom after midnight. Now he stood before her, his hand still cupping her cheek, his eyes searching hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "Stay with me tonight," he whispered again. "Let me explain everything." Jenny's heart was racing. "You've had 3 years to explain." "I know." His thumb stroked her cheekbone. "I know, and I was a coward. But I'm here now. Please, Jenny, give me one night to make you understand." She should say no. She should push him away, sign the papers, leave this cold marriage behind. But God help her. She'd wanted this for so long. Wanted him to see her, to touch her, to acknowledge that she existed as more than just a contractual obligation. "One night," she said, her voice barely audible. "Then I'm still leaving." "Before we continue, I need to know, would you have stayed? Or would you have walked away the moment he came through that door?" Drop your answer in the comments. I'm reading every single one. Jae-hyun's shoulders relaxed slightly, like he'd been holding his breath. He took her hand, the first time he'd held her hand outside of public appearances, and led her to sit on the edge of the bed. He didn't sit. He paced. "When I was 22, he began, his voice low, "I fell in love. Her name was Sujin. She was beautiful, kind, everything I thought I wanted." He stopped, his back to Jenny. "My enemies found out. They kidnapped her, tortured her for 3 days to get information about my family's operations." Jenny's breath caught. "Jae-hyun." "They sent her back to me in pieces." His voice cracked. "Her fingers first, then her." He stopped, his hands clenched into fists. "By the time we found her, she was barely alive. She died in my arms, begging me to save her, and I couldn't. I couldn't do anything." Tears streamed down Jenny's face. "I'm so sorry. I swore I'd never let that happen again." He turned to face her, and his eyes were wet. "I swore I'd never care about anyone enough to make them a target. And then my family forced this marriage, and I agreed because I thought it would be easy. A business arrangement. No feelings. No risk." He moved closer, kneeling in front of her, so they were eye level. "But then you walked into that restaurant in Chicago, and you were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. And you sat across from me with tears in your eyes, ready to sacrifice everything for your father, and I knew I was in trouble." Jenny's hands trembled. "You never showed it, because I was terrified." His hands rested on her knees, burning through the silk of her robe. "The wedding day, when I put that ring on your finger, I wanted to kiss you properly. Not just your cheek. I wanted to hold you and tell you that you were mine, truly mine. But I saw my father watching, saw the way my enemies looked at you during the ceremony, and I knew, if they saw how much I wanted you, you'd become a target. So you pushed me away," Jenny whispered. "I tried to keep you safe the only way I knew how. By making everyone believe you meant nothing to me. That our marriage was just business, Just a contract, nothing more. His hand slid up to cup her face again. But Jenny, every night I'd stand outside your door, fighting the urge to go in. Every morning I'd watch you sleep from the doorway before you woke up. Every time you smiled at me, every time you tried to reach me, it took everything I had not to break. The blanket, she said suddenly. When I fell asleep on the couch, I covered you, and I sat there watching you for 2 hours, memorizing the way you breathe when you dream. His voice dropped to a whisper. I know you take your coffee with cream and 2 sugars. I know you hum when you cook. I know you cry on the anniversary of your mother's death, even though you try to hide it. I know everything about you, Jenny, because I've been paying attention every single day. Her heart was breaking and healing simultaneously. Why didn't you tell me? Because nothing had changed. You were still in danger just by being my wife. The only difference was if I let myself love you openly, I'd be weaker. I'd make mistakes trying to protect you. I'd become the thing my enemies could exploit. He pressed his forehead to hers. But then I saw those divorce papers today, and I realized I've already lost you by trying so hard not to. You haven't lost me, Jenny heard herself say. You've just been too scared to claim me. I'm still scared. His lips were inches from hers now. Terrified. But I'm more afraid of living the rest of my life without you than I am of my enemies. Then stop being afraid. She closed the distance between them, her lips brushing his. Stop running from this. The kiss was gentle at first, 3 years of longing compressed into the soft press of mouths. Then Jae-hyun made a sound low in his throat, his control shattering, and he kissed her like a man drowning. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, and Jenny melted into him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Probably not. She smiled through her tears. But you're stuck with me anyway. The divorce papers. Burn them. She kissed him again, softer this time. I'm not going anywhere. What happened next was 3 years of denial, longing, and suppressed desire finally breaking free. Jae-hyun lifted her like she weighed nothing, laying her back on the bed they'd never shared. His hands trembled as they traced her curves through the silk robe, like he was afraid she might disappear if he moved too fast. I've imagined this, he confessed, his voice rough. So many nights, I've imagined touching you like this. Jenny pulled him down to her. Then stop imagining. I'm real. I'm here. I'm yours. Mine, he repeated, and the possessiveness in his voice sent shivers through her entire body. He kissed her neck, her collarbone, whispering in Korean between kisses, words she was still learning but understood through tone alone. Beautiful. Perfect. Mine. His hands explored her body with a reverence that made her feel like something precious, something worth protecting, something worth loving. Jae-hyun, she gasped as his lips found sensitive skin. Say it again. His eyes met hers, dark and intense. Say my name again. Jae-hyun. She pulled him closer. My husband. Something in him broke completely at those words. The Ice King, the cold Mafia boss, the man who'd kept her at arm's length for 3 years, he shattered into someone desperate and needy and completely hers. They made love like people who'd been starving finally finding food. Urgent and tender, passionate and gentle, 3 years of longing poured into every touch, every kiss, every whispered confession. I love you, he said against her skin in Korean first, then English. I've loved you since the day I met you, and I'll love you until the day I die. Jenny's tears fell freely. I love you too. God help me, I love you too. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Jenny's head on Jae-hyun's chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. The city lights of Seoul filtered through the windows, painting them in soft shadows. What happens now? She asked quietly. Now I stop being a coward. He kissed the top of her head. Now I claim you properly as my wife. Let everyone know you're mine and I'm yours. Let them try to touch you. They'll learn what happens when someone threatens what belongs to Park Jae-hyun. That's going to make things dangerous. Things have always been dangerous, Jenny. The only difference is now I'm not facing it alone. He tilted her chin up to look at him. Now I have something worth fighting for. Someone worth dying for. Don't talk about dying, She pressed her palm to his chest, feeling his heartbeat. Not after I just got you. Then I'll talk about living. He smiled, a real smile, maybe the first she'd ever seen from him. Living with you. Building a real marriage. Maybe eventually. His hand drifted to her stomach. A family? Jenny's breath caught. You want children? I want everything with you. His eyes were serious now. Everything I denied us for 3 years. I want to give you. If you'll have me. If you'll forgive me for wasting so much time. There's nothing to forgive. She kissed him softly. We have the rest of our lives to make up for it. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, and for the first time in 3 years, Jenny didn't feel alone. Morning came too soon. Jenny woke to find Jae-hyun already dressed, sitting on the edge of the bed, his phone in his hand and his expression dark. What's wrong? She sat up, pulling the sheet around her. He turned to her, and the ice was back in his eyes. But different now. Not cold indifference. Cold fury. My cousin Jinwoo knows, he said quietly. About us. About last night. How could he possibly? He has people watching me. Watching us. Jae-hyun's jaw clenched. He just sent me a message. He knows I've been hiding my feelings for you, and now that I've stopped hiding. He handed her his phone. The message was in Korean, but there was a photo attached. Jenny and Jae-hyun through the bedroom window last night, silhouetted against the lights. Jenny's blood ran cold. He was watching us. He's been waiting for this. Jae-hyun's voice was deadly calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence. Jinwoo wants my position in the family. He's been looking for weakness, for leverage. And now he thinks he's found it. Me. Jenny's hands trembled. I'm the weakness. No. Jae-hyun cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. You're my strength. But he doesn't understand that yet. His thumb traced her bottom lip. He sent another message. He wants to meet today. Says he has a proposition. It's a trap. Of course it's a trap. Jae-hyun's smile was sharp, dangerous. But I'm going anyway. Because Jinwoo needs to learn what happens when someone threatens my wife. Fear gripped Jenny's chest. Don't go. Please. We can figure something else out. Jenny. He kissed her forehead, soft and lingering. This is what I do. This is who I am. And now you're part of this world completely. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? She wanted to say no. Wanted to beg him to run away with her, to leave this life behind. But she saw the determination in his eyes, the fierce protectiveness, and she understood. This was him fighting for them. For their chance at a real marriage. I trust you, she whispered. But I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you alert. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. I'm leaving guards outside. Don't leave the penthouse. Don't open the door for anyone except me. And Jenny. He pulled a small handgun from his desk drawer, placed it on the nightstand. If anyone gets past my men, you use this. Aim for center mass. Don't hesitate. The gun sat there like a coiled snake. Jenny had never touched a weapon in her life. I can't. You can. And you will. Because you're Park Jae-hyun's wife now, and that means you survive. No matter what. He kissed her hard, desperately. I'll be back in 3 hours. I love you. I love you too. She watched him leave, every instinct screaming at her to stop him. The apartment felt too quiet after he left. Too empty. Jenny got dressed with shaking hands, jeans, a comfortable shirt, her hair pulled back. She kept looking at the gun on the nightstand. 2 hours passed like centuries. She tried to distract herself. Made coffee. Couldn't drink it. Turned on the TV. Couldn't focus. Paced the living room while the guards stood silent outside the door. Her phone was in her hand, checking obsessively for messages from Jae-hyun. Nothing. 2.5 hours. Her nerves were fraying. Then her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. In English. Your husband is very brave. But bravery doesn't stop bullets. Come to the address below if you want to see him alive. Come alone or we kill him. You have 30 minutes. Jenny's heart stopped. Below was an address in Gangnam, a warehouse district she vaguely recognized. This was exactly what Jae-hyun had warned her about. A trap. A way to get to him through her. But what if it wasn't a bluff? What if Jinwoo really had him? Her hands shook as she grabbed the gun from the nightstand. She didn't know how to use it, but she'd figure it out. She shoved it in her purse, pulled on a jacket, and moved toward the door. The guards outside looked up. "Mrs. Park, you're not supposed to leave." "Emergency," she said in broken Korean. "Family emergency. Need to go." They exchanged glances. Jenny pushed past them before they could stop her, running for the elevator. She heard them calling after her, probably radioing someone, but she was already inside, doors closing. While Jenny's racing to save Jae-hyun, was she right to go? Or should she have trusted his plan? What do you think would have been her best cause of action? Let me know in the comment below. The warehouse was exactly as ominous as she'd imagined. Dark, abandoned-looking, graffiti on the walls. Jenny's Uber driver had given her a strange look when she'd asked to be dropped here, but he'd left her without questions. Now she stood outside, the gun heavy in her purse, her heart hammering so hard she could hear it in her ears. 30 minutes. She'd made it with 2 minutes to spare. The side door was unlocked. Jenny pushed it open, stepping into darkness that smelled of rust and old concrete. She pulled out her phone, using the flashlight to navigate. "Hello." Her voice echoed. "I'm here. I came alone, like you said." Movement in the shadows. Lights suddenly blazed on, blinding her. Jenny threw up her arm, squinting. When her vision cleared, she saw him. Jae-hyun stood in the center of the warehouse, perfectly fine, not a hair out of place. And he looked furious. "Jenny, what the hell are you doing here?" Relief and confusion crashed through her. "The message, they said they had you, that they'd kill you if I didn't come." It was a test. Jinwoo's voice came from behind her. Jenny spun. Park Jinwoo looked like a younger, crueler version of Jae-hyun. Same sharp features, same dark eyes, but where Jae-hyun's eyes held depth and intensity, Jinwoo's held only calculation. He wasn't alone. 5 men flanked him, all armed. A test of what? Jenny demanded, her hand sliding into her purse, finding the gun. Of whether you'd be stupid enough to throw yourself into danger for him. Jinwoo smiled. "And you passed. Or failed, depending on perspective. You see, cousin, this is exactly what I've been trying to tell the family. Your wife makes you weak. Predictable. She gets a fake message, and here she comes running, and here you are, distracted and emotional." "Let her go," Jae-hyun said, his voice deadly calm. "This is between us, Jinwoo." "But she's the whole point." Jinwoo laughed. The great Park Jae-hyun, Ice King of Seoul, brought low by an American woman. It's almost poetic. He pulled out his own gun, casual, like he was holding a phone. "I could kill her right now. Show the family that you're compromised. Take your position." "You could try." Jae-hyun's hands were relaxed at his sides, but Jenny could see the coiled tension in his body. "But you'd be dead before her body hit the ground." "Maybe. Or maybe you'd hesitate, just long enough for my men to put you down." Jinwoo's smile widened. "Want to find out?" The warehouse fell silent. Jenny could feel the weight of the gun in her purse. 6 against 2. Terrible odds. But she wasn't going to die without fighting. Then Jae-hyun did something unexpected. He laughed. "Jinwoo, you've always been an idiot." Jae-hyun pulled out his phone, pressed a button. "You think I didn't know about your surveillance? That I didn't plan for this?" The warehouse doors burst open. A dozen men in black suits poured in, surrounding Jinwoo's group in seconds. Jinwoo's expression shifted from confident to panicked. "This was your trap all along," Jenny whispered, understanding dawning. "Not just mine." Jae-hyun's eyes stayed on Jinwoo. "Our trap. Jenny, show him what's in your purse." Jenny pulled out the gun, her hands steadier now. "You wanted me to come here. I needed Jinwoo to think he'd won. To think he'd found my weakness and could exploit it." Jae-hyun moved to stand beside her, his hand finding hers. "But my wife isn't my weakness. She's my partner." And Jinwoo just committed treason against the family in front of witnesses on camera. He gestured to the corners of the warehouse where small red lights blinked. And with full confession of his intent to murder a family head. Jinwoo's face went white. "You can't." "I already did. The family council has seen everything. They're waiting for us now." Jae-hyun's smile was cold. "You wanted my position?" You just lost everything. Jaehyun's men moved in, disarming Jinwoo's group efficiently. Jinwoo himself stood frozen, realizing too late that he'd been outmaneuvered completely. Take them to the council, Jaehyun ordered. Then he turned to Jenny, his expression softening. You were supposed to stay in the penthouse. I got a message saying you were dying. What was I supposed to do? Trust that I had a plan. But his arms wrapped around her, pulling her close. Though I admit, seeing you walk through that door took 10 years off my life. You used me as bait, she said against his chest. I used us as bait. Jinwoo needed to see that I'd protect you, at any cost. That I'd be vulnerable for you. It's what made him confident enough to make his move. He tilted her chin up. I'm sorry. I know it was dangerous. But I needed to end this threat permanently. For us. For our future. Jenny thought about it. The fear, the terror, the desperate race to save him. Then she thought about the look on Jinwoo's face when he realized he'd lost. About the fact that Jaehyun had trusted her enough to be part of the plan, even if she hadn't known it. Next time, she said slowly, maybe give me a heads up before you fake your own kidnapping? He laughed, the sound rich and genuine. Deal. Though I'm hoping there won't be a next time. In your line of work? She raised an eyebrow. Doubtful. Then I'll teach you. How to shoot properly. How to spot a trap. How to survive in my world. His eyes were serious now. Because you're right. You're in this completely now. And I won't have you defenseless. I like the sound of that. She kissed him softly. Partners? Partners, he agreed. In everything. The family dinner was different this time. Jenny sat beside Jaehyun at the long table, his hand resting openly on her thigh under the tablecloth. No more careful distance. No more pretending she didn't exist. When he introduced her now, it was with pride. My wife, Jennifer. His mother still didn't smile much, but there was grudging respect in her eyes. The other wives no longer whispered. They knew better now. Park Jaehyun's wife wasn't to be underestimated or disrespected. Jinwoo was gone, exiled from the family, his assets seized. A lesson to anyone else who thought they could use Jenny as leverage. After dinner, they returned to the penthouse, their penthouse now. Jenny had redecorated, adding warmth and color to the stark modern space. Photos of them together lined the shelves. Her books mixed with his. Their lives intertwined in every corner. In their bedroom. The bedroom they now shared every night. Jaehyun pulled her close. I've been thinking, he said, his hands sliding around her waist. Dangerous. She smiled against his neck. About what you said. About wanting to live. He pulled back to look at her. I've spent so much of my life just surviving, just holding on, just protecting what's mine. But with you, Jenny, I want more than that. I want to actually live. What does that look like for a mafia boss? She teased gently. I don't know yet. Maybe we figure it out together. His hand drifted to her stomach. Maybe we start with that family we talked about. Jenny's breath caught. They'd been trying for the last month, not seriously, just not preventing. But hearing him say it out loud made it real. You really want that? A baby? With me? I want everything with you. He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. Every single thing for the rest of our lives. You walked into that restaurant 3 years ago and changed my entire world. You made me believe in love again. Made me believe in futures and hope and all the things I thought died with Sujin. Tears pricked Jenny's eyes. She'd be glad you found happiness again. I think she would. His voice was soft. I think she'd like you. You're both stubborn, brave. Too good for me. Definitely too good for you, Jenny agreed, making him laugh. They made love slowly that night, tenderly, like they had all the time in the world. And afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, Jenny thought about the journey that had brought them here. 3 years of loneliness and confusion. 3 years of a marriage that wasn't a marriage. And then one night that changed everything. Jenny. Jaehyun's voice was drowsy in the darkness. Thank you for not leaving. For giving me a chance to be the husband you deserve. She squeezed his hand. Thank you for finally letting me in. Always, he promised. From now on, always. The pregnancy test sat on the bathroom counter, 2 pink lines clear and unmistakable. Jenny stared at it, her hands shaking, tears streaming down her face. Happy tears. Terrified tears. Overwhelmed tears. Jenny. Jae-hyun's voice came from the bedroom. You okay in there? She opened the door, holding the test. He took one look at her face, at the test, and his expression transformed into something she'd never seen before. Pure, unfiltered joy. We're pregnant. His voice cracked. We're pregnant, she confirmed. He picked her up, spinning her around, laughing and crying at the same time. When he set her down, his hands cradled her face like she was made of glass. I love you, he said. God, Jenny, I love you so much. I love you too. She pressed her hand to his chest, feeling his racing heartbeat. We're going to be parents. We're going to be amazing parents, he corrected, because we're a team. Partners. In everything. Later that night, lying in bed with Jae-hyun's hand resting protectively on her still flat stomach, Jenny thought about how close she'd come to leaving. How those divorce papers had almost ended everything before it really began. She thought about the scared, lonely woman she'd been just 6 months ago, and the strong, loved, fearless woman she'd become. What are you thinking? Jae-hyun asked softly. That I'm glad I stayed. That night when you came to my room, when you finally told me the truth, I'm glad I gave us a chance. Me too. He kissed her temple. Best decision I ever made, walking through that door. Second best, Jenny corrected. Best decision was marrying me in the first place. He laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. You're right. Marrying you was the best decision. Everything else was just me finally getting smart enough to appreciate what I had. Outside, Seoul sparkled with city lights. Inside, in their home, in their bed, Park Jae-hyun and Jennifer Park held each other close and dreamed of their future, a future they'd fight for, protect, and build together. Because some loves are worth the wait. Some loves are worth the fear. And some loves are worth 3 years of loneliness if it means forever together on the other side. And that's the story of how a contract marriage became a real love story. How 3 years of silence turned into a lifetime of partnership. How Jenny and Jae-hyun found their way to each other through the darkness. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button right now. We've got so many more Afro-Korean love stories that will make you believe in destiny, in second chances, and in the kind of love that conquers everything. Check out our playlist for more stories about forbidden love, unexpected romance, and couples who overcome impossible odds. Drop a comment telling me what you thought. Did you see that warehouse twist coming? Would you have forgiven Jae-hyun for those 3 years? And most importantly, what should they name their baby? I'm reading every single comment, and your engagement helps us bring you more stories like this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for believing in love. And remember, sometimes the best love stories are the ones that take time to bloom. Stay tuned for our next story, because trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until next time, keep believing in love.